We're going to go ahead and get started now, and I would like to introduce Dr. Parker Chesson to bring comments from our group, and then also introduce a few Wake Tech important people.
Thank you, Clark. It is wonderful to be here with you again. Someone told me a short while ago, I made the comment, well, it's really good to see you today. And the response was, it's better to be seen than to be viewed. Unfortunately, I guess that's where we all end up at some point in time. But it is nice to see so many familiar faces. Some of us go back to the 60s and the 70s. I'm going to ask Bruce Howell and Steve Scott if they would come up and give a welcome for Wake Tech. Now, they're retired now, so they can say about what they want to about, where's Steve? But it's got to be brief, okay?
First of all, welcome everybody here. It's good to see so many old friends. But just reminiscing back to Wake Tech, and when I went to Wake Tech, and I'm probably the longest serving Wake Tech president because the rest of them get shot out of there pretty soon. But nobody will realize that Wake Tech, when I went there, was the 38th largest institution in the state, yet we were about the second largest county in the state. Didn't make a whole lot of sense. But we had a president called Bob LeMay. Now, I hope most of you have had a chance to either read a history on Bob LeMay or either to have known Bob LeMay. Because as president of Sampson Community College prior to coming to Wake, I went to a president's meeting, my first president's meeting, and Bob LeMay walked in with a double-barrel shotgun, and he had some intimidation against Ben Fountain as president. And we were going to clean up all the rabbits and everything that was wrong in the community college system, and we were going to take care of Ben Fountain. And I thought, well, God, I just came from Lenore, and I thought Ben was a pretty good guy. But anyway, that was the way it was. Now, I also arrived on campus my first day at Wake Tech. I knew that we had to have some changes. If you're 38th in the system, and Ruth Shaw and her group was first in the system, and I said, hell, we got to change this. But my first day, I drive into the president's spot, and I am met by a security guard who salutes me. And I thought, boy, this is a change of environment. And we built the biggest continuing education program in the state. We did lots and lots of things, and we went all over Wake County. And we had a plan that we handed over to Steve Scott after 23 years. Steve has done a remarkable job of implementing that plan. And Steve is now retired. He deserves it. And I'm just proud to have served with each and every one of you. And you're the guys that helped make this place. So thank you very much for being at Wake Tech. And to my friend and colleague, Steve Scott.
Thank you, Bruce. I'm glad you saved a half hour for me to talk to this group. It's always good to see you. I get to call 10 or 12 folks each year and to invite you to come to this event. I thought when Clark and a few others and Parker approached me a few years ago that we would be glad, before I retired, to host this event. because I think that you need to be recognized and remembered. And they're going to do a list of the folks that are no longer with us. And you're my peers, okay? I really enjoyed, when I was at Southeastern, forget being at Wake Tech for 15 years, 16 years, but when I was at Southeastern, I used to really love to go to the president's meetings because there were people there that had exactly the same problems I did. They might have had it at a bigger school, a little bit different, but I could talk to those colleagues. And I will tell you that the first one that I went to, they used to have a card game. And we were in the hotel room, I can't remember exactly where, and they invited me to play cards. And I got in there, and Ed Wilson and some other folks were calling out these games I'd never heard of. And then this thought crossed my mind. If you don't know who the patsy is, it's you. After losing a few hands, I realized it was me to lose a few bucks there. But Dr. Rawls sends his regrets. He has a family wedding in Western North Carolina, and that's where he is. And so we're glad, Bruce and I are really glad to have you on this campus. You talk about what we have done at community colleges, Bruce. It's because we got to stand on the shoulders of others. You gave me the second largest community college, 103 acres here to build, and the college bought another 11 acres over here where the Hendricks Automotive Complex is. But it was basically your vision. I got to execute it and got the opportunity to build a few more other campuses in Wake County. So we're glad that you're here today. Enjoy each other, talk to each other, catch up, tell some lies. A semi-true story is usually okay. And I'm so glad that you're here today. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve and Bruce. Let me add a couple of things that to kind of add on to what I guess it was Bruce said. Bob LeMay. How many in this room was a president when Bob LeMay was president of Wake Tech? 1, 2. Raymond was. Not that many. Okay. He was a character. And the story he told about the shotgun, that's a true story. That's a true story. Ben Fountain had met the state president at that time, had made a comment the previous afternoon about Bob. He said, "You are chasing rabbits, Bob. You are chasing rabbits." Well, the meeting ended shortly after, and the next morning, Bob LeMay walks in. He had hunting gear on, as I remember, and a double-barrel shotgun. It was broken down. I don't think there were any shells in it. But he walks in, and what in the world are you doing, Bob? I'm chasing those rabbits that Ben let out yesterday afternoon. Clark, you going to recognize our guest, special guest? Okay.
So we typically do this at the beginning, but we'll do it now. We're going to do basically a roll call because some of you know each other and some of you don't. So I'm going to state your name and the college you're associated with. In some cases, there are a few. I'll try to remember all of them. Bill Adams, Davidson County Community College. We have retired presidents in this group and also pioneers whose careers often go back to the 60s. And so there's a blend here of those. Ray Bailey, Asheville Buncombe Technical College. We have Walter Bartlett, Piedmont Community College. Joe Barwick, Carteret Community College. We have, may miss a few folks. Of course, Parker Chesson, you all met him earlier. Dr. Harry Cook, Gaston College. I'll say more about Harry shortly. Frank Eagles, Wilson Tech. I'll put that in there.
I'd like you to note that Frank was on time. Frank was actually early. You want to call that to your attention? I'm on your side, buddy.
Sounds like your reputation precedes me.
Bill Fent, Bladen Community College. Matt Garrett, Central Carolina Community College. Algie Gatewood, Alamance Community College. Clay Hines, System Office. Bruce Howe, Sampson and Wake Tech, and Lenore, we go back all the way. And Mabel Howe, also Lenore Community College. Bill Ingram, Durham Tech Community College in the back. Larry Keene, Fayetteville Tech. Let's see. Debbie Lamb, Edgecombe Community College. Mike Lotta, Gaston College. Fred Manley, System Office. Dennis Massey, Pitt Community College. And did Daryl McGraw make it? No, okay. Neil McLeod, Wake Tech, Martin Community College, System Office. Gene Overton, System Office. Jim Owen, Guilford Tech and Piedmont Community College and System Office. Vincent Revels, Bladen Community College. And Wake as well, yes, sir. Charlie Russell, Pitt Community College. Steve Scott, there's about 3 or 4 there. Let's see if I can do them. Southeastern Community College, Lenore Community College, Wake Tech Community College. Did I get them all? And System Office.
Can't keep my job, evidently.
Ruth Shaw, Central Piedmont Community College. David Sink, Blue Ridge Community College, and Davidson prior to that. Pat Skinner, Gaston College. Raymond Stone, Sandhills Community College. And Rachel Stone, Sandhills Community College. All right. Avron Upchurch, Central Carolina Community College. Jim Young Jr., System Office and Pitt, right? Pitt Community College. Did I leave anyone out?
Mabel Howell.
We got her. Leo Kelly, Vance Granville Community College. Yes, sir. Anyone else who I missed? Okay. We're going to do just a few special recognitions real quickly. And we also have someone else I did not mention yet, Dr. Jeff Cox, President of the System Office, who you'll be hearing from shortly. We have several folks who will recognize, and these are individuals who started when the system was in the Industrial Education Center period. And as I look out across the audience, I think there are just a few of those with us today. And that would be, let's see if this is working, yep. That would be, first of all, who appears to be our earliest employee. If somebody can predate this, you'll have to let us know. This gentleman started at Central Carolina Community College the year it opened in 1962. And that is Mr. Avron Upchurch. Avron Upchurch was hired as the Ag Tech Coordinator, if you know your IEC history, and then went on to serve as Vice President at Central Carolina before he retired in 1994. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Upchurch is also celebrating his 94th birthday.
Wow.
We also have a few others that go back to that period, I believe, with us. And Mabel Howe started at Lenore Community College in 1964 when it was an industrial education center before it converted to technical, well, actually, technical and then community college for a brief period of time. He was the first librarian at Lenore, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? Okay. Also, we have Dr. Harry Cook back here who is waving. Dr. Cook was hired at Catawba Valley about the second year it was a technical institute from an IEC. That year was 1965 when he was hired at Catawba Valley as director of the library. Dr. Cook is currently full-time at Gaston College as the director of the library. Next year will be his 59th consecutive year full-time employee College system, Dr. Harry Cook. Dr. Cook, you told me a story recently about you were thinking about retiring, but you hadn't thought about it too much lately because you have a sister who's working. Can you share that story?
I have a sister that's 101, and I have one that's 99, and she still works as a night security guard. My dad's going to be 101, and my goal is to outlive them down the road and be at my desk working.
Let's see. We also have a few other pioneers we'll recognize real quickly. In the back, we have Fred Manley. Fred Manley was hired in the system office in 1965.
Program, and so we had an instructor lined up, but the problem was his salary would be higher than the president's salary. And hey, that was the problem. Even I forgot how we worked that out. Evidently, we bumped the president's salary up a little bit.
I don't know what the resolution was, but he stayed.
But that gives a little bit about how Avon and I are connected, and we're both ag teachers.
People don't realize that Dr. Raymond Stone was involved in writing the legislation for the bill that was the bill that passed that created our community college system. Dr. Stone?
It was so good to be here. I remember back in the 1950s, there were 2-year public junior colleges that became part of the university system, and there were industrial education centers that were sponsored by Governor Hodgins, and all of that was we put together the comprehensive community college system in 1963. And it was my joy and pleasure to work with Governor Terry Sanford in doing so. And then I became president of the Sand Hills Community College January 1st, 1964, and stayed there 25 years. It's been a joy of my life. I'm glad to be back here today, but I'm old, my old man, 96-year-old man who nearly blind and nearly deaf. But it's good to be back here.
Dr. Stone is the founding president of Sand Hills Community College, and we've recognized him several times through the years for his contributions, and we're thankful that both he and his wife Rachel are with us today.
Paul, may I share something?
Sometime during that 25-year span that he was at Sand Hills, he hosted us, the presidents. And we had a very nice time, and we went over to his house after dinner and had after dinner drink or two, and later ended up around Rachel's grand piano with her playing. And she turned at the end of that and she said, I've had a lot of experiences in my life, but playing Baptist hymns for a group of inebriated community college
All right, at this time, one other thing I'd like to mention too, real quickly. We have some people who are here for the very first time at one of these reunions, and if this is your first time attending, if you'll raise your hand. Dr. Walter Bartlett, Dr. Larry Keene, Algie Gatewood, and Dr. Pat Skinner in the back. One other person, too, I would reference is Dr. Jim Young, Jr. Some of you are not old enough to remember that his father, Jim Young, was the founding president at Roanoke Shawan Community College. And so he's here with us today. We should also recognize real quickly before we turn this back to Parker Chesson, the advisory committee that puts this together each year was formed by the late Herman Porter. And Dr. Porter assigned us various tasks. And several of the committee members are here today, and a former committee member is with us too. Ray Bailey, down here on the end, was working with us on this reunion for quite a few years. And then we have Neil McLeod, who's a member of the group, Dr. Steve Scott. We have Dr. Debbie Lamb, who's with us today. Dr. Parker Chesson is the chair of the group. Dr. Pat Skinner and Dr. Joe Barwick. and Dr. Ken Boham, who was planning to be here today. He emailed me earlier this week, and he told me that his wife said that she wanted to stay at the beach an extra day. And he said, I've given 43 years of my life to the community colleges, and now it's her turn, and I can't say no. So, Dr. Chesson.
Thank you, Clark. Some of you may notice I'm wearing glasses, drying on my nose. I used to see people in the grocery store walking around like this. I thought, what in the world is wrong with their vision? I found out. Had very successful cataract surgery. I can see you up till about here. And I have to use these if they're not a computer or looking at some notes or something. But I'm just glad I'm here and have got eyesight. It's a real pleasure for the group to have with us today the president of the North Carolina Community College System. I believe it is the first time that the current president, when we were having meetings, has been able to be with us. Sometimes there have been other representatives from the system office. So we're very happy to have the current president with us. You probably read or saw on TV several months ago that Dr. Jeff Cox was selected by the State Board of Community Colleges as the 11th president of the system. Now, I might add, I put a footnote there. He's, in the last 5 years, he's the fourth. I think I'm right with that. The system desperately needs stability at the top, and I think they've picked the man that can do that. Jeff Cox he came to the system office from Wilkes Community College. He was there for 8 or 9 years, I believe. Prior to that, he was a superintendent of Allegheny County. And as Allegheny County contiguous to Wilkes, so he was a well-known figure in that region. But if you go back in his pedigree and look at it, he's definitely an education man. He started in the public schools as a teacher. Was it English, Jeff? And you're sitting beside Ruth Shaw, she was an English major and teacher early in her life in the community college system. But Jeff was a coach. He was, I think, an assistant principal, a principal, an assistant superintendent, a superintendent. And I'm sure he was doing some things in that region, the Allegheny, Wilkes region, that the leadership at Wilkes Community College saw that, and they picked him as their president. So he applied for the state presidency. Jeff, I hope you can stay. You were at Wilkes 9 years, I think. You were at Allegheny 9 years. Give us 9 years.
Yeah.
That would be real nice. That would be real nice. It's a tough job. I've been in the system office. I've seen what goes on there and the pressures that are on the system president. But I believe we've picked a man, the state board has picked a man who will be a leader for this system. Stability, as I mentioned, I think is needed, and he's going to bring that to us. So, Jeff, we're very pleased to have you with us today. The floor is all yours.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. So I thank you so much for just the opportunity to be here with you all. I had the thought driving over how many familiar faces I would see. I started at Wilkes in 2014. And as was mentioned, was there for about 9 years. So I was thinking how many of you folks had retired since 2014, and then there's a lot of you here who who have recently retired, but it's such a treat for me to be here and hear some of this history of our system. And I just thank all of you for your service to our wonderful community college system. So I want to walk through and just share a few things with you. I know I'm conscious of our time here, and if I haven't stopped by 1 o'clock, just get up and start walking for lunch, and I'll know you're ready to move on. So I'm going to share with you a little bit of what I've shared, have started sharing some out in the community, trying to tell our story about community colleges and who we are. You all know well who we are, but I thought some of this might be relevant to you. So you've heard some of my history. My communications team insisted I put this out to kind of tell a little bit of my story as we tell our story about the system. But I do have about over 30 years in education experience. I've been through all those roles as a high school teacher, assistant principal, assistant superintendent, local college president. We did have some success at Wilkes during my tenure there, more than doubling our completion rate. I'm really proud of that. I had the opportunity to go through the Aspen Institute's Presidential Fellowship Program several years ago. That was a great honor. And then I was honored to be a finalist for the Superintendent of the Year award a number of years ago, and then for the Community College President of the Year. But I guess put a different way, you could say I'm old. I can't hold down a job. I think, Scott, you referenced that. I've a lot of job changes over the years, and I wasn't quite good enough to be either the Superintendent of the Year or the President of the Year. But regardless, I'm here now and happy and honored, honestly, to be in this role. So you all know this better than me. Hearing where you all are from across our beautiful state, golly, we do truly live in one of the most beautiful places in the world. Whether you're in our majestic mountains, where I'm from, where I called home growing up, to our beautiful coastlines, all the urban and rural areas at all points in between, we do live in a beautiful state. The economy is booming. We're the number one state in the country for business for now the second year in a row. So we are swimming in prosperity, except some places we're not. And so we've all got places in our communities that look more like this than the first slide. We do have our challenges. Look at those computers. You all will remember what those screens used to look like, but the technology and the pace of change is unbelievable. It's getting steeper and steeper every day. It's overwhelming to think about the things that are emerging now with artificial intelligence and virtual reality and how that's going to reshape business, industry, education, everything. The pace of change is intimidating. We see these help wanted signs. We know we've got a significant part of our population that are kind of disconnected from work and many of them from school. I'll talk about that in a minute. And down in the bottom left-hand corner there, you got the video thing. Too many of our young people are sitting home in mom and dad's basement playing video games instead of going to school or out working in a job. So we have our challenges for sure. That we have a lot of communities in North Carolina where if you're born poor, there's a 2 out of 3 chance you're going to stay in poverty. In North Carolina, everybody needs a college credential. 60% of the jobs in North Carolina require education beyond high school. 1.3 million North Carolinians who are 25 to 44 do not have any kind of post-secondary degree or credential. That's a big market for us for our community college with adult education. I mentioned these young folks who are disconnected. 141,000 young people between 16 and 24 who are neither enrolled in school, working, or in the military. That's a big part of our population. Only 31% of the students in North Carolina are earning a degree or credential within 6 years of graduating from high school. So 69% not achieving that. Workforce development, we had 28,690 jobs announced for 2022. So that's a record high. You all have heard of all these companies that are moving. These projects will bring in about $19.3 billion in capital investment into the state. Here are some of the companies that we're talking about. Again, some of these here in this region, but others are across different communities in the state. All of these are companies that are bringing thousands and thousands of jobs to us. But the other side of that is 75% of employers now are saying that they're struggling to find a skilled workforce, compared to only 34% saying that 10 years ago. So more than twice as many companies are struggling to find the workers they need. The good news is for us, the community college is a system. Our system is a solution for both the employers and for the students and people who are living in poverty trying to find a better way. Our community colleges, I'll give friend Bob Templin at the Aspen Institute use this phrase, which I love. Community colleges are a bridge, not a destination. And, people sometimes go to Duke, that's a destination. They go to an Ivy League school or Chapel Hill, even NC State maybe. Our community colleges, I had to tell myself at Wilkes, nobody, from a very young age just thought, gosh, I just can't wait to one day get to go to Wilkes Community College. But we had a lot of students whose lives we changed, and they know it. And we've got a lot of alumni who say they would never have been able to have a good life without our college. We were that bridge to a better life, and we are that across the Great 58 year after year after year with hundreds of thousands of students. You all know this, we're the third largest system in the nation, and I would argue the most comprehensive community college system in the country. We cover more territory, do more things than anybody else. In fact, I'll share with you, I've got an invitation about a month ago to go up to New York State to talk to their whole statewide trustees association because they were looking around the country at community college systems that they thought they wanted to emulate, and they had two systems that they had picked out, and North Carolina was one of those. So I'm going to be going up there to sharing with them some of the wisdom that we've collected here over many, many years. So we're serving now about 600,000 students each year. Of course, you've seen the map, the 58 campuses where they're all located. There's one that's a mistake on here. I'm going to get off there before you pick out which county it was in, because I haven't been able to update that slide. If you add to that all the multi-campus locations like we have here in Wake, of course, that really, really begins to fill out the rest of the state. I like that slide just because it really illustrates the point about access. Our forefathers really got this part right with having so many colleges across the state. You all hear the rumbling sometimes that maybe we have too many colleges. There's talk about consolidation or closing some colleges. I want to continue to push hard back against that. Our students need access, and access means proximity. We've got to have colleges out in all of the communities that we currently serve. I believe that strongly. So there's benefits, obviously, to college education. We talk about to the individual and family, what all those benefits are, but also in the community. It serves the community well to have a well-educated populace. So you think about from a student's perspective, why would a student want to invest in a local community college? If you just look at tuition and fees, and this is not even talking about living expenses, the tuition and fees for the university system, about $25,000 over the 4 years. If you bring into that equation paying living expenses, renting an apartment and so forth, it gets to be more like $25,000 a year. Believe me, I've got two young boys who are in the system now, and I can vouch for that. It's quite expensive. But look at our expense, on the other hand, about $2,500 a year for tuition and fees for our community colleges. So very, very much affordable. We can educate about 5 community college students for the cost of one university student. Kids these days coming out of school are asking increasingly this question: is a college education worth it anymore? There's a kind of a growing group of folks who are questioning whether or not even to go to college. Students who do earn an associate degree from our community college system we'll see an increase of earnings up to $7,000 or more each year compared to a person with just a high school diploma. Then this statistic, an associate's degree leads to a national average of $723,000 in additional lifetime earnings when compared just to a high school diploma. So think about that's making the case for students, but what about our state? Why should North Carolina be invested more in our community college system? And I would imagine that every single one of you all here in this room, if called upon, would say that they should be. But how do we make that case to our legislature? Well, first of all, we got a $19.3 billion in added income. And you look at our graduate students who came to us, went through our programs, got out, what they were making before and what they were making after. That's a huge impact on the economy across the state. It's a lot of tax revenue. Few other statistics, 98% of North Carolina community college students are from North Carolina. 24,000 plus jobs and various economic development projects were supported by our community college teams in 2021. We have 170% return on investment for apprenticeship programs, another great part of our community college system. And I love this last one. The added tax revenue and public sector savings for every $1 of state investment, it returns $1.90. So I think we could use that argument to tell the legislature they should give us the whole budget. We'd double it for them, right? And then they can decide what to do with it after. But there's not many investments that they can make where they're actually making money on the investment. But we are that. We make up about 3.4% of the state's total gross product. We support nearly 320,000 jobs in our communities. And students, again, enjoy an average rate of return on their investment of 22.3%. I bet there's not many of you out there who wouldn't want to be part of an investment that returns 22+%. Nearly 80% of our community college graduates stay in the communities where they learn. We are the workforce developer of North Carolina. Too many of our kids who go to the university end up staying in that university town. They don't go back to their hometown. So the folks we have who go through our community college system tend to stay in those local communities. So that's important. Just want to wrap up here by sharing with you a little bit of kind of where we're headed with this, with our strategic planning. The state board has been really working hard over the last couple of years, really, to develop what I think is actually a pretty good, a really good strategic plan for 22 to 26. I'll hit just the very high levels of that. 5 overarching kind of big goals. The first one is about recruiting and retaining top talent. We've got to keep doing more for our faculty and staff salaries. You all, I'm sure, worked on those whatever time you entered and exited the system. I've got little doubt that that was an issue all along the way. This year's budget, we've got a 4% increase for our employees, 3% more in the second year of the biennium. So 7% over 2 years, pretty good. It's pretty good. One, I'd say probably 2 of the better years we've had, but still not enough. We're trying to compete in the public sector for nursing positions where they're making 6 figures. So we do have some special allocations in the budget just for nurses, but we've got to keep working hard. If we're going to have great programs, you all know this, we've got to have great faculty and staff to help us do that. The second goal, increase in access and enrollment at the North Carolina community colleges to meet the state's educational attainment goal and expand post-secondary opportunities. COVID was tough. Some of you have retired. Most of you have retired before we went through COVID. A couple of you lived, Larry, Algie, I'm seeing you guys went through that period. I would argue is one of the toughest periods our system has gone through. Enrollment really took a serious nosedive during COVID. We're rebuilding our way out of that, but there's still a big part of the population that we're just not serving. Too many communities out there where 30 or 40, 50% of high school kids aren't going anywhere after high school. But we know most of the jobs are going to require some kind of post-secondary credential. Probably not 4-year degrees, maybe not even 2-year degrees, but an increasing amount of short-term credentials. I think our Con Ed side of the house, the workforce side of our operation is definitely on the upswing. We're going to see the prevalence of that really expand, I think, over the next few years. But we've got to get those students back in our doors. So enrollment is a real priority for us in our plan. Third thing, providing resources inside and outside the classroom for all students to complete successfully enroll, persist, and complete. Again, you think back to the kind of the early days, it was just about getting students to enroll, and then it kind of shifted, and it was about getting students to complete. Well, now we're thinking more about what happens after they complete. Are they getting out into the world and making a living? Are they changing their life circumstance, earning a living wage? So we've got to provide the resources, not just to get students and keep them, but have them successfully complete and get out and change their lives. Fourth thing, provide education, training, and credentials to develop the most competitive workforce in the nation. One of the reasons we're the number one state in the country for business is our workforce. It was identified as specifically, they called out our community college system as being a strong partner in that, which we are, but we've got to do even better. We've got these thousands of jobs that are coming. We've got to make sure the credentials we're offering, the students we're graduating, match up with what those great jobs are going to be. And then fifth and finally, the increase in the state funding, streamlining the allocation formula, and implementing practices to improve on system effectiveness. So this is something we're definitely digging into. We'll talk just a little bit more about that. So with the overall strategic plan, the board, as I've come on now almost 4 months ago, the board and I have been working closely together on kind of boiling down that strategic plan to a few specific priorities for me as new president to be working with them and our system team to implement. So one of those things that some of you, again, have been around our system for a long time, know how long it's been since we've updated the technology with the system. The old colleague system has been in place for many, many years. Well, we're finally dangerously close to modernizing that with a new system. It's going to be expensive, but we're working through and with pilots out there among some of the colleges. But we've got probably $150 million or so price tag associated with updating that and moving our ERP system into the modern era. It's got to happen, but it's going to be a heavy lift. Rebuilding, strengthening, and stabilizing our system office team. You all of you presidents will enjoy this. So when I was hired into the job, I knew that 2 of the top vice presidents at the system office were in the process of moving out. After having been hired and been on the job maybe a week, I found out another one of my vice presidents is leaving, the CFO transitioning. So I looked around, I said, I'm new in this role. I don't know anything about running a state agency. I've done this at the local college level, but just imagine coming in as a college president and having your top three out of your top 4 people transition. So I was more than a little bit nervous that first 30 days or so. I'm proud to tell you, though, we've filled all those positions. We've gotten some outstanding candidates in those roles, and I couldn't be more pleased with the strength of our current senior team at the system office. So that was clearly one of the things the board really talked to me quickly about is you've got to rebuild the team here and stabilize things. We've talked a little bit about that, and I don't know if I'm going to promise a 9-year commitment, but I will tell you I'm the first system president to ever have a multi-year contract. I do have a 3-year contract. Yes. Because the board recognizes I'm counting all the interims, I'm the 8th president in the last 8 years. I mean, just think about that at the local level. So in my mind, there's little doubt about why we've had trouble gaining a lot of momentum with the system. And so it's one of the things I wouldn't ever claim to be the smartest guy in the room, but I think I have put together a good team, and I think I can provide some stability. So I think if we just have a good, stable leadership team there, and we can kind of hold the reins. I'm going to say the 3-year contract, I've talked to the board about my plans to renew that for a second 3-year term, get through 6 years, and then we'll reevaluate. But if we could just have steady leadership for 6 years, I think we can really move the system forward in a big, big way. It'll be something we haven't been able to do in quite some time. So I'm excited about that. We've got a great team that we have rebuilt and who are dedicated to our system in a big way. So look forward to moving forward with that. And then finally, the last big thing, we're making a big push on marketing, branding, and communications. As I transitioned into the system office team, we have been through a period of about a year where we literally had nobody, 0 people in the marketing and communications department. I mean, just think of that. At a system of our size, to have nobody working on communications and marketing and so forth. So again, we've hired some great folks. We got stole 2 folks from Durham Tech. I apologize to JB periodically when I see him, but we got a great start of a marketing department, and they're doing they're on social media and they're getting their name out. And we've got a matching grant of $3 million. We've got to raise the $3 million to match that, but then we'll have $6 million to put toward a big marketing push across the state. So we're working on that. We're revamping the system office website to make it much more interactive and user-friendly for both students and business and industry. So it's an exciting time. Lots of good things going on. You all have likely seen some of the fun I've been having around the governance issue. I'll just go ahead and address that. It was interesting coming into this role. During the application process itself, the legislature was at work and talking about, this Senate Bill 692, where they would be kind of giving themselves the final authority on approving the new system president. So literally, as I was in the interviews, I didn't know if at the end of the process they would have passed the law or not, and if there'd be another step in the process, or if they'd even stop the process. So it was a little unnerving. But we got through that, and the board made their decision. Here I am. But the budget bill did finally pass, and with that are some changes to the system, community college system governance. So the legislature has now given themselves the authority moving forward to have that oversight and final say so. When the board has a recommendation for a future system president, they'll have to come before the legislative group to get the final say so. They also have taken away the governor's appointed authority to our state board, and then also to the local boards of trustees, and took away the school board's appointed authority. So at the local level now, moving forward, it's going to be county commissioners will have appointments, and then the House and the Senate will each have 4. So it'll be 4, 4, and 4 like that. So the governor, I will tell you, I saw in the news yesterday, the governor has announced his intentions to file a lawsuit. He believes that what they've done is unconstitutional, and that the division of authority across the branches of government should stand. So we'll see how that plays out in the courts. Dr. Scott gave me a compliment on my comments about that in the N&O. Being he said you have arrived as a politician because you skirted that question as well as you could have. So it's interesting in this role. I'll just tell you that you have to really kind of think through all the politics. That's not the most fun part of the job, but it is part of the job. And I knew that when I signed on for it. So we're We're moving along, though. We're building relationships in the legislature. I think our budget overall was very good, about a 12.8% increase from where we were last year. That's about as solid as we've had in a while. A lot of support in the legislature at individual colleges, several $100 million in projects and support earmarked for specific colleges. If you add that into the overall budget, again, it was a good year for community colleges. So we're going to bear down and keep moving forward. I'm a pragmatist. I'm not a real big on the politics. We'll work our way through that as we have to. But what we do is too dang important to get mired down in politics. We are the economic driver for this state. We are the solution. It's going to make sure those companies that are bringing all these jobs have the workers they need. And we are the place that's going to be the access point for higher education for the vast majority of the citizens in our state. We've got to get that right, and we've got to make sure we're giving that opportunity. So we're going to be working on our funding model, and you're going to see some recommendations before by the time we get to January in this short session. We're going to have some pretty bold ideas about how we need to tweak our funding model to make sure we're positioned to meet the need for business and industry. So what my request is of this group is I want you all to think about how we can engage with you. I look out and I hear your stories and I see your long tenure and your relationships in your communities. And I'm asking myself the question. We started this conversation with the President's Association when I was there, a few months ago. Why are we not leveraging this retired president's group to help carry the message about our community colleges? I'm sure you're doing it, and just in conversations with friends and neighbors. But we need your help. You all have got so much institutional wisdom and relationships across the state. I'm gonna call on you to help us where you can with this message, because I know you care deeply about the community college system, or you wouldn't be here celebrating with all these fantastic colleagues. So I thank you for your service. I challenge you to stay plugged in, figure out where you can keep helping us, and I thank you for letting me be here to share with you a little bit today. Thank you. And right there is my email if anybody is interested.
Great job.
Or call me. Thank you, sir.
You want to switch over?
Yes.
Okay. This is a part of the program I really don't, it kind of breaks me up in some respects. Since the last year,
There we go. Fine.
we've lost, I believe it'll be 8 people I'll talk about here. First, all of us probably, everyone in the room knew Ed Wilson. Ed passed away last November after a long, really multi-year battle with heart issues. And he had moved to South Carolina. He has a daughter, I believe it's a daughter in that region. And his heart went out on him, and I got an email from Ed about 5 days before he died. But it was really not Ed. I could tell he did not write this. He was basically asking me for some money. I said, no, I don't believe this is Ed Wilson. Well, I had his mobile phone number. I called him. He was in the hospital when he answered. And he sounded normal. We had a nice chat. He told me what the issues were. That was on a Wednesday. And he went, Ray Bailey knows more about details on this than I do, but I think by Saturday he was in bad shape. And I think he passed away on Sunday, but it was basically a heart issue. We sent the obituary to everyone, and one of the lines I loved in this was that he loved beach music, shag dancing, and Sue, his wife, and I might add, Carolina Tar Heels. He was, oh boy, he was a real Tar Heel man. Everywhere he went, he served in his community and his church. And toward the end of his, after he retired, I believe, he received the Order of the Longleaf Pine from the governor of North Carolina. Ed was a good man. I first got to know him when he was president at Luncheon Community College. I was at COA, Cause of the Evermore at that time. And we maintained, when he worked with Bob Scott, as most of you know, as the executive vice president of the system, went from Roanoke Chowan to that. And when he decided he wanted to do something else, he talked me into looking into that job. Bob Scott hired me to go into the job that Ed had. Okay, next thought. Ray Needham. Not everyone in the room would know him. Some of the older heads would. He was at Guilford Technical Community College for about 10 years. But I did not know until I closely read his obituary that his interest early in his life and career was agriculture. And his undergraduate degree may have been in that area. The last time I talked with him was about 2 years ago. He was living in Arizona. He had moved there. I'm not sure if he had family in that area or not. And that's where he lived when he passed away in December of this past year. Carl Price, many of you in the room knew Carl. He was truly a good man. Died at the age of 92. He had 92 years. His obituary says that he was born in the Johnston County community of Thanksgiving. I guess there is. Okay.
There's a church.
Yeah, he was a country guy, a rural guy. His roots were deep there. And he started in the system in 1964 at Fayetteville Technical Institute at that time. Went to James Front for a number of years, became president there. And then somehow Bruce Howell enticed him to come to Wake Tech as the executive vice president for Wake Tech. And I'm sure he was, he did that for a number of years.
Let me just add something.
Go
The
ahead.
reason I could get Carl, it was all about family with Carl. His daughter needed special medical treatment. And if you're James Front, it was an hour and a half further to get here. And it was all about Carla, or a great deal about Carla and her special medical needs.
Very good.
And I needed an executive vice president.
You got a good one.
And
He did you well.
couldn't have gotten a better guy, more Christian, more dedicated guy. Vince Revels, Neil McLeod will vouch for anything about that.
Thank you, Bruce. I did not know the reasons why he made that move. Someone
He was
else.
an NC
Gene.
State Wolfpack person.
He was what? NC State Wolfpacker, just like you, huh?
He had special seats right down there because of Carl.
Okay, the next person we lost was good old Joe Sturdivant. Joe went all the way back to the beginning of the system. He was a Carolina UNC Chapel Hill graduate. I did not know that. Began his career in 1965 in the system office, and he was a go-to man or person for economic development, new industry training, whatever it might be along those lines. He probably was in the room with more governors of North Carolina than anybody in this room over his, say, 30-year career, where deals were being made, things were being discussed about job training. One regret I have is that I did not know this until I read his obituary. Apparently, he had a tremendous voice. I never heard him sing, but at the end of the obituary, well, friends can make comments. I'll bet 15 referred to his beautiful voice. He was quite a singer. When I came to the system office in '92, Joe was still working. In fact, I think he retired maybe about the time I was leaving there in '96. We all miss Joe Sterling. Next, Jim Richardson. Now, the picture I have of Jim in the obituary, his head is as white as snow. His hair turned completely gray, grayer than mine. I don't know where you got this picture from, Clark. Who knows? But Jim was he was a very good president of Western Piedmont Community College, I believe for about 25 years. Good president. But one thing he did not like to do was to go to president's meetings. I was president for 17 years. Jim was president for at least 10 of those years. I saw him one or two times. He was the kind of guy, send the money, I'm going to take care of my community. Great personality. He wasn't shy. He was a very outgoing person. Started his career in high schools, teaching and coaching, and died at the age of 81 in February.
He was at Lenore Community College.
Excuse me? Okay, go ahead. I'm not familiar with.
Y'all remember that he visited a lot of colleges for accreditation visits with Herman Ford.
Yeah, he did.
He was the first PE guy at Lenore.
First what?
Physical ed
Physical ed teacher?
at Lenore Community College.
Did not know that. Okay.
Let me say this, I was at the system office with Jim. One interesting thing was, while he was at the system office, the secretary would call him to wake him up to come to the office. That was her job every morning.
But he became a very successful college president. Okay, next on our list. That's not what I have here. Give me 1 second. Tommy Williams. Very interesting career. He started, I think, in the system office. Then he worked with CP&L for a number of years in nuclear education, which became part of Ruth Shaw's Duke Energy. Their paths probably did not overlap. And he did that work for, I don't know, a decade. And then he came back to the system as president of Mainland Community College. And I might add, at a very troubled time at that institution. And he did a great job over 10 years. Okay, Frank Eagles is telling me to speed up, so I will. Billy Mills was not a college employee that I'm aware of, not a college president, but those older heads in the room, he was a go-to man in the legislature. He was Mr. Community College in the General Assembly for several years. Lived in Jacksonville and was a real friend of the system. The next man I do not know. I'm sure Jeff knew him well. He was president at Davidson, what is now Davidson-Davie Community College, for about 4 years. But he was taken down much too young of cancer. But I think he had been a public school superintendent and came to what is now Davidson Davie Community College and was doing a great job, but cancer took him down, and he died in this year, not recently, in September. Most of you in the room probably did not know this man. Gordon Blank was the second president of Western Piedmont Community College. His obituary said he was the youngest community college president in the country at that time. I don't know, certainly in his early to mid-30s. I became a president in 75, so I got to overlap with him for about 3 years. He lived a long life, 90-some years old. Okay, I've got to speed up. Apparently there's some students maybe want this space. But Martin Community College had as a president Travis Martin for a number of years. And he looks amazingly well to be 90 years old. And he had signed up to be here today. That's how sudden his death was. Had a long career in community colleges, presidency at Martin Community College. Okay. Randy Whitfield worked in the system office, was kind of a pioneer in adult basic education, that field, from Randolph County. When she retired, she went back to Randolph County and passed away this year in 2023. Did I hear them all, Clark? Okay, I want to say one last thing, and then we'll go eat. This young man, I think he's a young man, is amazing. Clark Adams is an amazing young man. He can tell you history of this system that you've forgotten, including when you started, if you were president, when you started, and when you left. We could not do what we have today, have this kind of information about friends and colleagues who have passed on. He's the one who pulls it together. He's an English professor at Randolph Community College, and 25 years in the system? 20 years in the system, and I hope he stays around for a lot longer, helping us. Anything else, Clark, before? Excuse me?
Dr. Garrett, bless
Yes, I'm sorry. Matt, if you would give thanks for the day and our blessings, I would appreciate it. Matt Garrett is a former president at Central Carolina. He walks around with that all the time. His father was a Baptist. Is he still living?
He passed away this summer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so I need to hurry.
A Baptist minister in the church that my mother grew up in.
There you go. I am going to direct this prayer especially to those inebriated presidents who were singing Baptist hymns. Wow. So, it's interesting to be asked to pray anymore in a public setting because we're in a very divided country where people get offended so easily. So let me say that I have great respect for you, whether you believe in a God or whatever. But I'm going to pray to God as I understand him, which means I'm going to pray in the name of Jesus. But I fully respect you and however you feel. Let us pray. Father, we thank you so much that you are the great creator who put all things together, set all things in motion, still involved in the affairs of humankind. And now we take time to pause and give you thanks. Thank you so much for those who have planned this program. Thank you for the pioneers of this system, for all of those who labored in the trenches for years and years to build this system. Thank you for all the students who have been helped, all the ways that we have all of us have been blessed by the community college system that's in this state. We have all been blessed by the medical professionals, the automotive technicians, the plumbers, the dental assistant. Lord, it just goes on and on. You have used the community college system and used people like us to bring a great blessing to our state. And we thank you, oh God. Lord, we thank you for the careers that each of us have enjoyed. Even the failures along the way, we learned something from them. We give you thanks. And now we come to thank you for the food that's been prepared for us. And again, it's one of your gifts. We didn't plant it. We didn't harvest it. We didn't prepare it. But we're going to enjoy it. And we ask you to bless the food. We pray that you will give us strength to continue to be of service to others. Help us all of our lives to continue to be ready to serve where needed. And so we pray your blessing over the whole community college system, every campus, every student, every employee, faculty, staff. Set a shield of protection over each campus and let us continue to do the good work that's been begun in this state, continuing forward. Bless our new system president here, Dr. Cox, and lead him and his staff. Thank you now for hearing our prayer, which I pray in the name of Jesus, my Savior. Amen.
Scott?
Thank you so much.